Hey gang, Scott here. In this video, we'll take a look at the masking panel in ON1 Photo Raw. Or maybe I should say we're going to look at, hide it and not pay attention to it and then explain what's going on when you look at it underneath. I get a lot of questions about people trying to work with the masking panel to do your masking, and it can be confusing. And so my advice in this video, first and foremost, is going to be, if it confuses you, the masking panel is just weird for you, don't use it. Just use your masking tools and build up the mask as you normally would. And there's really only one scenario I can think of, well, maybe two, that you would use the masking panel for. And I'll explain those toward the end of the video. But let's first take a look at, this is just a sample photo from Photo Raw of what's going on under the hood when we're doing masking. So we're in effects, there's nothing applied here, no filters are applied. Let's do the following. Let's say, for the sake of argument, we want to add dynamic contrast to the rocks and the background, right? And so let's say I'll do that with Super Select, and the first thing we'll do is grab the foreground rocks. And let's say I was really eager to get going here, and I hit dynamic contrast. I'll use surreal so you can really see what's happening there. I was like, all right, great, that looks good. I'm ready to rock and roll here. And then you realize, oops, I forgot to add the midground and the background, or maybe the boat or something like that. You forgot an element. No problem. The dynamic contrast filter is still selected. That's still the filter I'm working with. So, well, I want to add more contrast, so I'll grab a different masking tool. And let's use the Quick Mask AI brush, because that works very similarly to Super Select, and I'll just choose that and say, okay. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot to add the mountains. Get that masking tool back up there, choose AI brush, and let's get the mountains in there now too. Okay, hit the blue check. All right, and now I'm still having dynamic contrast, and when I look at my mask, pretty close. I got a little bit of missing space between the ridges there, so let's get another masking tool. This time I'll just use a brush, paint in. Let's make sure my opacity is all the way up. There we go. And I'll just paint along that ridge line to make sure I've got all that stuff covered. Okay, for the illustrative purposes, that's good enough. We toggle that before and after. We certainly see that pop that's going on there. Let's recap what we did here. We did a Super Select for the rocks in the foreground. I did a Quick Mask AI for the midground. I did another Quick Mask AI for the mountains. And then I did a brush to fill in a little bit of the gaps between the midground and the mountains. When we look at the masking panel, we're going to see the sum total of that. Let me put my tool back to the zoom view so we don't mistake me for masking right now. So we did those four different things. When we take a look at the masking panel, so we click the mask swatch there, we get our properties open, here's masking. Target mask, that effectively is the total mask that we did. I'm pressing the O key, this is the mask that we did. And this is where dynamic contrast is being applied. That's our target, right? The mask layers, when I open that up, check this out. I have four things, right? Those same four things we did from bottom to top. We did Super Select. That was the first selection we made for these midground rocks. Why does it say Quick Mask AI? I can't tell you why. It just does. It was a Super Select, but it says Quick Mask AI. Let's just move on from that, I guess. But the second thing we did was definitely a Quick Mask AI. That was for the midground. The third Quick Mask AI we did was for the mountains. And then finally, brush work to fill in the little gap between the midground and the mountains. Why does the brush swatch here on this particular adjustment show as a very large white rectangle where I painted in? I did a small sliver of paint in. I would have expected that swatch would be mostly a black rectangle with a little stripe of white. I can't tell you why. I don't know. It does not make sense to me either. But nevertheless, what I pay attention to is remembering what I did, and if I really need help, looking at what each thing was accomplishing. So when I turn off the brush, just disabling the mask, it's still there. I can bring it back. But okay, that's what I did. I painted that in there. And then there's the quick mask for the mountains. There was the quick mask for the midground. And this was our original super select. Now here's another thing about the masking panel that is confusing. This one I have a little bit of a better explanation for. What if I turn off my last mask and suddenly it goes completely white, meaning dynamic contrast in the surreal is applied everywhere? Why is that happening? Well, when you first reach for a filter, if you were to, instead of doing like super select, picking something, right clicking and choosing a filter, you're over in the filters area, up over in here, you just say, add filter, give me something. When you put that down on your photo, it applies everywhere. Effectively, you have a complete and total 100% white mask. Everything is getting affected. Now, when you haven't reached for a masking tool, we don't normally see the mask swatch next to the filter. But now once you've done masking and now you've backed all that stuff off, we've effectively said, well, I used to have all this interesting combinations of things. I've removed all of them and I'm back to applying dynamic contrast everywhere. I still need a mask at this point, or at least the software says I need a mask. Therefore, you get a big white rectangle covering everything. But when we can bring things back in, we can bring in the midground. Ooh, the midground's not bringing in. That's interesting. I guess I need to start from the bottom up. So that's another quirk. It's like I need that first mask to be applied because these other things are relative to it. So that's something, I just learned that just now. So this is where the masking layers get built up, and yes, there is some confusing behavior there, but again, the advice I'm going to keep coming back to is if you're doing basic paints or erases, you're doing add and subtract, you're adding something to your mask, you're subtracting something, you don't need the masking panel. It's not going to provide you with a lot of additional control because you can do all of that using the masking tools, right? Where you grab a masking tool and let's say I choose, gradient. I have, gradient is an interesting example because it's either going to erase on one side and paint on the other, right? But if I choose, say, I'll just go back to the brush. The brush is probably the best example because I have paint or I have erase. That's add, that's subtract. Other tools like the line mask, if you are in paint or erase, but when you draw something around something and close that box, you see a little paint can. You're either going to erase inside it, erase outside it. You're still doing paints and erase, adds and subtract. And each one of those new masking tool adds something to the mask layer. So one more time, just to recap that, let me get out of the line mask, looking at our masking panel. We started with super select, we added with quick mask, we added with quick mask, we added with brush, and we got a sum total of this filter here. Now, what are the scenarios where you might want to actually open up the masking panel and start to do some other things? There's two scenarios that come to mind for me. The first is intersect mode. Now, I've done separate videos on intersect mode. Go take a look at those. It's more of an advanced technique. It's quite powerful, very useful when you're using things like luminosity masks, combine them with brushes. It can be very, very good for much more intricate masks. And that intersect mode, you can only tap into that from the masking panel. The second potential example is to control density and the overall feather of the mask. And that's something that is useful, where you don't have to work with the individual masking tools. You can get your mask done and then operate things on a whole level. Let me show you a quick example of density here. I've done other videos on it before. I'll link them, put cards somewhere up here. But I'll give you a quick example here. And when I'm working with density or feather, I'm tending to work with my final mask, right? So as you hover over the target mask, filter, dynamic contrast, you get this little menu with 3 lines on it, sometimes called the hamburger menu, I've heard. But you have in this area, refine mask, right? And so I'm going to press the O key so we can see what's going on here. And I say refine the mask. And this is where I have density and I have feather. Now density will control how bright or how dark the mask is. Now I've painted in at 100% on a lot of this photo, but if I back the density off, you're going to start to see some gray come into other areas of the photo. Now I'll turn this off, and what that's doing, in this case, we're playing with dynamic contrast. As I decrease the density of the shaded or darkest areas of the mask, and if I go all the way, we see dynamic contrast gets applied everywhere. I bring it up, and dynamic contrast is being applied mostly where I painted in, but a little bit. In this case, we had 85, so about 15% is being applied to the water and the sky. So I can get some of my look added to these other regions I didn't expressly mask just by using density. And then the second one is the feather. I take the feather, and if I push it really far, I'm feathering the mask, right? The photo is still crisp. This is not a blur. I'm just feathering the mask out, and so I can take the edge off of some of these masks here. And especially when you're using it with density, feather is a nice combination, these two to go together. So you have a nice blend between areas that you have a strong effect applied and areas you have that same effect at a weaker strength. Just using the feather is a great way to smooth those two things together. So things just blend in nicely and you avoid some harsh edges. It's not going to magically fix haloing or things like that. That is something else that you'll need to deal with other tools. I think I've done other videos on halos. But this is an area where I will reach into the masking area, or the masking panel to do certain things. And as I'm talking, a couple of other ideas come to mind where if I wanted to quickly invert the mask, great, I can do that from the masking panel as well. But generally, if you're starting by saying, my mentality is, I want to apply such and such a filter to these elements in the photo, grab the tools that'll select those elements for you and build up your mask that way. And you almost never really need to go into the masking panel, especially if it confuses you. I hope this gave you some better insight into the panel, or at least for give you permission not to use it. Sometimes that's important too. You have my blessings to go forth and not use the masking panel if it doesn't work for you. Other questions, go ahead and drop them below. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Have fun.